1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, this isn't working. One, two. One, two. 1, 2. 1, See? What's this shit? See? This shit. Oh no, let's upload. 2. Do. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Boom. We're in. Hope this works. Hope this works. Okay. So, yeah. Hey everybody, and welcome to the thing. I hope this is going to work. I've awful bother with these live streams. They're very jumpy, very bitty. I am recording them though. Oh, I just press that record button. Okay. Yeah. This may not work out. I am so fuck this. I have the best broadband I can get, and it just won't. It wavers. It goes. I get all the bandwidth that I need, and then it wobbles, and it's driving me a bit mental. Listen, so I'm going to do this anyway, and I'll put this out as a podcast. If the worst comes to the worst, which this might. So I'm going to recording the audio. If this doesn't work, it goes out as a podcast anyway. I can see on the screen on YouTube that it's all a bit fucked up. So let me know if it's working for you. I don't think it's going to be. Audio was fine though, Andy. Yes. Okay. We can live with that. That's good. That's better than I expected. It goes all wobbly. So I do the speed test thing, and it goes, you've got 80 megabytes up and the down, and then you do it a minute, and then it warns you. The YouTube warns you that it's not good enough, and then you check it again, and it's like half what it was 2 minutes ago. I don't know how these things work. I don't fucking want to know. Isn't that one of the problems with everything, that you have to be a bloody expert at everything? And I am not an expert at everything. I would rather just do one or two things quite well. Very well. But anyway, so let's do this. The video was all a bit wavy. Aye, fuck it. We'll just push on. Well, I've got the audio. I'm recording the audio in the Reaper, so I can knock that out as a podcast. Cheers, Jerry. Appreciate that. So, we update before we hit a couple of subjects. I must apologise for not being around much recently. If you know my personal situation, Jeannie and I have fostered a couple of children, sort of an emergency family situation, and it's two twins, two 2-year-olds, and they're quite the handful. And I just don't have time for this. As simple as that. Just simple. I'm sure you understand. But it means that I don't get to do this. I was very bad at being regular at this anyway, as you know. So I don't get to do this as much as I should because of the time. And I've missed out on some great stuff. So there's the Owen Harris story in Dublin, with Owen Harris, if you don't know, was I have an article here. Owen Harris was a columnist for the Independent, on Sunday Independent in Dublin, and one of the things, it's really interesting. One of the things that Sinn Féin get accused of, if you go onto Twitter and you say anything positive to Sinn Féin, about Sinn Féin or anything, you could call it what they call a Shinnerbot, as if you're some sort of a paid troll. There's some sort of paid troll army out there, being all pro Sinn Féin. I don't know what, but it's I guess it's a way of just dismissing the genuine support that Sinn Féin, the biggest political party in the country by all polls, and I guess it's just a way of dismissing that support and sort of devaluing and degrading you as a supporter of Sinn Féin, if you happen to be one of those. And they call you a Shinnerbot, as if there's this sort of troll army out there. Turns out there's an old is it Machiavelli? He has this. One of the things Machiavelli says is accuse your enemy of that which you're guilty. And this is what's been going on. So this guy Owen Harris, who's this columnist, turns out he's got these Twitter accounts, and the one was under the name Barbara J. Pym, frequently accused with no evidence, respected journalists of others of being provos and spewing sectarian bile. Now, this guy Owen Harris is, I'm not going to say that there's a phrase, West Brit, that is generally referred to people in the Dublin area that tend to be pro UK and sort of pro, not for the reunification of Ireland. And I don't like to say it because it is an offensive term, but if anybody fits that name, it's him. And he was very misogynist as well. And he was interviewed on Drive Time by one of the leading RTE journalists, and she sort of cornered him a bit. And, you know, he says, listen, you're one of the few people I've ever blocked on Twitter. But he come across such a big spoiled baby. He really did. He sounded like a big child. So I missed that story because I've been busy. I missed the outcome of the Ballymurphy inquiry, which was a huge big thing here in Northern Ireland, the north of Ireland, Northern Ireland, whatever. The 6 counties. I missed that. Well, I didn't miss it. I didn't get to talk about it with you. It's a very touchy subject here. As you know, 9 people murdered by paratroopers who went on a couple of weeks later to do the Bloody Sunday massacre up in Derry. So it was the same platoon. So it happened, and it found in favour of the families who have been fighting for 50 years to try and get the names of their loved ones cleared, because they're all smeared. They're all told them that they were provos and stuff like that. They weren't. They're all innocent. As everyone knew here, but it's the establishment looking after itself, isn't it? What else did I miss? I haven't missed this, but I will get back to it at some point. It's the housing crisis in the south. The southern government have mismanaged the housing stock, the housing situation in the Republic of Ireland. So bad. I mean, it's fucking awful. It's really bad. Basically what they've been doing is there's lots of stuff going on with this, giving private developers public land to build on and stuff like that, and not charging enough, or not getting them to build enough public housing on it, and all this sort of stuff. But that basically what they haven't been doing is stopping hedge funds. They call them cuckoo funds. So these hedge funds so somebody goes and builds a housing estate. They put 200 houses on it outside of a town, and these are badly needed. There's a housing shortage in the south, especially in and around the built-up areas. And then these hedge funds come in and buy up the bulk of the stock, if not all of the stock. So if there's 100 houses available, they'll buy 80 or 90 of them, like that. So, and then they rent them out. They rent them out to the people that want to buy them. So you end up paying £2,000 a month, €2,000 a month in rent, or you could be spending €1,200 on a mortgage, and you have to pay. And then you can't save for your mortgage because you've got no money, because it's all going on rent. It's that old adage, I can't afford the bank won't give me a mortgage because I can't afford one, but I can pay someone else's mortgage, So, and it's a big deal, and it's one of these things that's it can do the current government a lot of damage, but more importantly, it can do the country a lot of damage, because people will leave, and that's a problem for us. We don't want that. We don't want our people leaving. We want them to stay and be awesome. So I'll get to that because that's ongoing. And then the big story that dropped yesterday was the Dominic Cummings revelations in London. Nothing I like more than a bit of blue on blue fighting. It makes a change from red on red, I can assure you of that. But it's good to see. And Dominic, we know what Dominic Cummings is. He's a deplorable, loathsome character. And I answered someone put up on a Twitter poll, who do you believe, Cummings or Johnson or neither? And obviously the answer's neither. You couldn't believe either of the two of them. But they're both incompetent, and they're both promoted beyond their ability. You wouldn't get away with what they got away with, what they're getting away with. I wouldn't get away with it. And not to be lost in all of this is people have died. Oh, I can hear a bee or something in here. Oh God, I hope it doesn't. People have died, up to 150,000 maybe, when all the reckoning is done. And this is obviously a huge thing. Men, women, children, fathers, mothers, grandparents, all gone. Someone's loved one is away now because of these idiots. These idiots who have the best education money can buy, and they couldn't have done worse. And I think that the reason that they can't do, and I don't think you need to be especially intelligent to do these jobs. I do think this though. I don't think intelligence is a burden. I think it's a good thing. But I think you have to be public spirited and public minded, and they're not. They're not. They're only there for themselves. And that's observable in the way that they doled out those contracts to their mates. They're not there. They look at the public purse as it's a raid, it's a bank robbery. They're just robbing the bank. And they're going to get away with it. I read on Twitter there tonight, if the Profumo affair, remember that thing happened in the 60s? If that happened, if the Profumo affair happened today, he would get promoted. And this is the thing, Priti Patel, one of my most hated Tory ministers, she should be in jail. I'm not a big treason guy, but if you're any sort of way flag wavy, she should be in jail. She had meetings with Israel, and we're going to talk about Israel in a minute, but she had meetings with Israel officials and the Prime Minister himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, without telling her own government, of which she was a member. Like, and not once or twice, like 8 or 9 times she did it. So this is what these people are. They're sharks. They're just circling, and they're just looking to line their own pockets. And there's no public service in them. They're not there to serve. They're not there to help and to make everything better. They're there to make everything better for themselves. And so there's that. So we'll get to the Dominic Cummings thing because it's still ongoing. I might do another whatever tomorrow or whatever. Once that Dominic Cummings story gets a bit of meat on its bones. But so I'll get back to that. And the big story that I have in my own personal, my wife Janie got her degree. She got her an art history degree, and she just sent away her final essay last night. I'm so proud of her, and I couldn't be happier for her. She's worked very, very hard at that. So and we've taken on these 2 children. I mean, she's an absolute, and she's doing the lion's share of the work with them. I can assure you, she's an absolute miracle of a woman. So, excuse me, there's that. Right, to the thing. Okay, my stream appears to be healthy, so that's good. You do want a healthy stream. Oh yeah, here we go. So, the title of this pod stream is Poots, Palestine, and the Protocol. So it's Edwin Poots, Okay, if you don't know who he is, I'll explain. Palestine, you obviously know about that, and the protocol, it's the Northern Ireland Protocol. So it's Ireland-centric, this. So, here's an article from the Telegraph in England. Here's Edwin Poots. I'll give you a little reading series here, so here we go. Fundamentalist Christian and former farmer. Did you hear me? Elected leader of the DUP. You know who the DUP are, right? Fundamentalist sectarian lunatics that we have biggest, up until recently, the biggest political party in Ulster. And their fortunes have plummeted, to say the least, because of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which we want to finish on that. So, Edwin Poots, the newly elected leader of the Democratic Unionist Party, is a conviction politician. I can see that the stream has just crashed again. So you see what I mean? It went up there for a minute or two, and now it's gone on its ass. But anyway, is a conviction politician. One of those convictions includes the belief that the Earth is just 6,000 years old and was created by God in about 4,000 BC. Now, he is a fundamentalist Christian, and he doesn't believe in evolution. This man, I remember a few years ago, he tried to get a creationist exhibition put into the Ulster Museum. In Belfast, we have the Ulster Museum. It's fantastic. We go up there all the time. Family days out. It's brilliant. The art gallery is stunning. And he wanted to put a creationist exhibition in this, and he was sort of using his role as a minister here to try and force that, to make that happen. But it kind of got very heated, and some of the scientists and professors and the smarty pants people that work up there, there was talk about them sort of threatening to quit over it. They wouldn't be seen dead in a museum with that in it. But anyway, so here we go. And as I said, there is a conviction politician. A fundamentalist Christian, Mr. Poots, 55, is a member of the Free Presbyterian Church of Ulster. The religious church founded in 1951 by the Reverend Dr. Ian Paisley. I'm sure you know who he is. 20 years before he set up the DUP. Not surprisingly, Dr. Paisley is one of the towering figures in Northern Ireland politics. Up until his death in 2014, was Mr. Poots' great childhood inspiration. In 2007, Mr. Poots had been asked on the radio programme about his creationist beliefs. My view on the earth is that it is a young earth. My view is 4,000 BC, he explained. Asked if he meant he dismissed the science of evolution, he was clear. Yes, absolutely. And you're telling me that all this evolution took place over billions of years, yet it's only the last few thousand years that man could actually learn to write. You're telling me that cosmic balls of dust gathered and there was an explosion. We've had lots of explosions in Northern Ireland, and I've never seen anything come out of it that was good. Now that there, if you listen to that, that's a great example of a DUP mindset. When you listen to Ian Paisley talk, when you listen to Sammy Wilson talk, when you listen to Gregory Campbell talk, when you listen to Edmund Poots talk, that's the way they're very sneery. They sneer and they dismiss and they put down, and that's what they do. That's the way they talk. And it's that thing, it can't be, there can be no such thing as global warming or climate change because I have a snowball in my garden. I can make a snowball in my garden. Things like that. And they do dismiss the science, and they will bypass, even though without science, where would we be? But anyway, I push on. But that's an example of that attitude, and this is what it's like here in Northern Ireland dealing with these people. They do dismiss you. They're very, very confident, and they're very, always confident, never in doubt. That's them, exactly them. So, onwards. His father, Charles Poots, was a founding member of the DUP, and Mr. Poots, Jr., joined up at the age of 16. He's been in the party all his adult life. His Christian conservatism makes him a popular choice among the DUP diehards. But his views will go down far less well with Sinn Féin, the political wing of the now defunct Provisional IRA, with whom the DUP must do business if Stormont is to survive under its power sharing agreements. Now, there's only another paragraph this, so I'll just read on and then I'll talk. As the health minister in Stormont, he tried to maintain a ban on gay men giving blood, a rule imposed across the UK at the height of the AIDS epidemic and only lifted in England, Scotland and Wales in 2011. However, Mr Poots, who was the health minister up until 2014, tried to keep the ban in place, and the prohibition was only overturned in the law courts, which ruled that his decision making was infected by apparent bias. Mr Poots, father of 4, had insisted his stance was based on the need to be certain of the safety of blood supplies. He was dismayed by the court's interference in the matter, telling members of the Northern Ireland Assembly in belligerent fashion, "There is a continual battering of Christian principles, and I have to say this, shame on the courts for going down the route of constantly attacking Christian principles, Christian ethics and Christian morals, on which this society was based and which has given us a very good foundation." End of the article. Now, I can hear a bee in the studio and it's driving me, or a fly or something. It's driving me nuts. I don't know where it is. I wish it'd just do what it wants to do and fuck off. So, anyway, so Poots, this is him all over. As I said, always confident, never in doubt. And they never are. So he says, when he was doing it was known here as the gay blood ban. He said he was just trying to need to be certain of the safety of blood supplies. That was his explanation of why this blood ban was going in place. But then further into the article it says he accuses there's a continual battering of Christian principles. So is it a health and safety issue, or is it a Christian issue? And it was obviously a Christian issue. It's his personal faith, and his personal faith drives, as it says, he's a conviction politician. It's his Christian faith that drives his decision making, and this is why it's important. The other day, Ian Paisley Jr. was asked about on Newsnight or whatever it was about Edmund Poots' creationism, and Ian Paisley went off on one, and this whole Christian that fucking bee is so distracting. Give me a sec. I think I got him. So, the whole Christian persecution thing. So Ian Paisley went down this whole Christian persecution path, but that's not fair. And it's not a true reading of the situation. It's okay to ask about this man's personal faith whenever his personal faith is driving his decision making in government. Do you understand? So they claim this Christian persecution thing, which they do all over the world. Christians are fucking never done going on about how they're being persecuted. The truth of the matter is no one cares. Off you go, do what you fucking like. Just don't, as the old adage goes, it's not that we don't dismiss you because you love Jesus. We dismiss you because you don't act like him. If they acted a bit more like him, they would get a bit more support, I think. So that's who Edwin Poots is, and he's now the leader of the DUP. The DUP, as it says in this, I mentioned Sinn Féin. It is an English paper, and it was a very basic reading of the situation there, but Sinn Féin in the polls are all on the up. The DUP's vote is collapsing. And the thing that happens the thing that happened at the end of the Good Friday Agreement process after the Belfast Agreement and all, although it was the SDLP and the SDLP and the UUP, along with others, along with Sinn Féin and others, not the DUP though, that brought the Good Friday Agreement. They were the two biggest parties at the time, the SDLP and the UUP. Then the next election came around, people voted for Sinn Féin and the DUP. So it was sort of a retreat to the trenches, because it sort of suggested people didn't know what was going to happen and were a bit worried. And at the time, that's what was said. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. I can't remember. I was here, but I can't remember back that far. But a lot of people voted for the DUP that wouldn't ordinarily have voted for the DUP. Your moderate unionists. And although the DUP are filled with these hard right-wing Christian fundamentalists, a lot of moderate, otherwise liberal unionists that voted for the DUP. Because people were voting for Sinn Féin, and so the other side voted for the DUP, and people were voting for the DUP, so the other side voted for Sinn Féin. So it's a bit of a tail, a snake eating its own tail. That's a very bad explanation, but you get my point, I hope. But those same people have watched Brexit happen. They've watched the rise of loyalist dissenters, and they've watched. I mean, to watch this whole Brexit chapter this past 5 years, and to watch the way Ulster Unionism has been conducting itself, and then now they're out there crying and complaining, and it's fucking pathetic, is what it is. And they can't, although they are complaining and they will complain, there's enough people that would have voted, going, well, I'm not voting for these idiots anymore, because they are idiots and they are holding us back. And we'll get on to the protocol. I won't talk any more about the protocol because I'm going to get to that. So that's how Edwin Poots is. So next bit of theme. Okay, so the Palestine thing. What are we going to do about the Palestine thing? Well, what are we going to do? We're not going to do much. But somebody did in Ireland. So, Ireland became the first EU country to declare Israel is involved in a de facto annexation. This vote passed in the Dáil just the other day, yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. This is a big deal. Now, so the basic rundown, you know this, but this is a basic rundown. So Israel has been striking into Palestine with undue force and over the top, and killing children and bombing hospitals and doing all sorts of war crimes. What's weird about this time is that the world seems to have woken up a wee bit about what's been going on down there. And you're seeing these protests in like Florida and stuff, cities in America and places you really wouldn't have expected. But this is what's happened. And one of the things I spoke about, have spoke about quite a bit over the years, is about the power of words. As a writer, I understand these a little bit about the power of words. And words have heft and weight, and you choose your words very carefully. So you don't go throwing words about that don't fit, that don't suit, because they lose their heft and they lose their, because then you dilute them. And one of the worst words, one of the heaviest words, was anti-Semite. It was always, all my life, it was always a terrible word, because it was associated with the Nazis and one of the worst crimes, if not the worst, in human history. So to be called an anti-Semite was an awful thing. And you would have been careful. You might have tippy-toed around saying what you felt about this, about certain situations, about this situation in Palestine, for fear of being called that. But I think those days are gone. I think, and I remember talking with someone about this a couple of years ago. That, and the way I described it was, words have heft. It's like a hammer hitting a rock, and the hammer may break the rock, but every time it lands, it loses a little bit of itself. So it should be careful about which rocks it chooses to hit. So eventually there's going to be no hammer left. And this is exactly where we are with that word. People don't care anymore. It's lost its danger. Because we can see. Everyone can see. I've been following the Palestine situation closely for years now. I've been in many protests and stuff around here, and I've lent my voice in a small way, in a tiny way that I can. But it's great to see the rest of the world kind of from unexpected places waking up. So, brief rundown of the and by the way, anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. Okay, Zionism is a political is political. It's a political idea. Anti-Semitism is about the hatred of a people because they're from a region. This is not what anti-Zionism is. Anti-Zionism is you're against the idea that Israel belongs to the Jews exclusively. Okay? Jews have always been there, of course. They've been a part of that region since there was people there, I guess. Since there was Jews. That's where they originated from. But they were a part of Palestine. And the idea that we should be genociding, and it is genociding a Palestinian people in order to provide Jewish people the homeland of Israel that was written about in an Iron Age book 3,000 years ago, is nonsense. It is a complete nonsense. So, if Israel should be anywhere, the argument goes that it should be in Germany. The Germans should be paying for the price, should pay the price of the war crimes that they committed, the crimes against humanity that they committed. It shouldn't be in Palestine. It's nothing to do with them people. They didn't do it. They didn't do anything wrong. So then you move forward again. The Brits there's the British again, up to their necks in it. They turn around and draw a line across somebody else's country, like they did here, like they did in India, Pakistan, Hong Kong, China. Divide and conquer. And we can see how well that went. It hasn't gone well anywhere because it's not right. So they come along after World War II. By 1967 comes around, the Palestinians agree to the two-state solution, which I personally don't agree with because that's what we had here. And it didn't work out. It doesn't work. A Protestant Ulster for a Protestant people. Our wee country. Fuck that. I have to live here too. I'm neither of those things. Well, that's the same as down there. Very simplifying here, right? But it's the same idea. It's the same basic concept brought to you by the same basic people. So the Palestinians agreed. That's the PLO. They agreed. And they ended up handing over something like 75% of the country to Israel. And they were keeping the 25 to themselves. And obviously a lot of people didn't go along with that. It was very divisive, but they got enough people across the line to get her done. despite the fact they didn't agree with it, but they could see that, listen, if we don't give them this, we're fucked. And ever since then, Israel are actually breaking the terms of that agreement as they were signing it. So, that's been 19, and I'm sure you've seen that map where you see the little pockets of what was Palestine getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's been going on ever since. And yeah, so that's where we are. You know all this. Why am I telling you? You know this. So, here we go. This is from the Irish Times. Ireland becomes the first EU country to declare Israel is involved in de facto annexation. The Republic has become the first EU member state to declare the building of Israeli settlements in Palestinian territories as de facto annexation after the Dáil on Wednesday night passed a motion tabled by Sinn Féin. The Dáil rejected, however, a proposal to expel the Israeli ambassador to the Republic and impose comprehensive sanctions against Israel by 87 votes to 46 with no abstentions. So they voted to call it an annexation, but by 87 votes to 46, they couldn't get the Israeli ambassador kicked out and impose sanctions on Israel. People Before Profit had introduced the amendment calling for the ambassador's expulsion to Sinn Féin, to a Sinn Féin motion describing the building of Israeli settlements in Palestinian territories as de facto annexation. The Dáil passed the Sinn Féin motion itself on Wednesday night. The government had, in a debate on Tuesday night, supported the Sinn Féin proposal, and Minister for Foreign Affairs Simon Coveney said during the debate on the issue that we need to be honest with what it is happening on the ground and call it out as de facto annexation. He added that the Republic is the first EU country to state this, and it could be a message to the global community, and let's hope it is. Hopefully this will also lead to the boycott, divestment and sanction movement getting a bit more air under its wings. So Mr. Coveney echoed the comments of Sinn Féin Foreign Affairs spokesman John Brady, who said that we are boldly stating that Israel is acting illegally under international law. Sinn Féin had accepted for their motion a government amendment condemning the actions of militant Palestinian group Hamas. A cabinet meeting. So the government. So it's good. It's a rare moment of agreement in the Dáil. But for Sinn Féin to get that across the line, they were going to have to let the government accepted a motion, a government amendment condemning the actions of the militant Palestinian group Hamas, and that's fair enough. You know, I understand you don't want to be encouraging people to be throwing rockets over walls and stuff, but this is a smokescreen. The Hamas thing is a smokescreen. Now, don't get me wrong, Hamas are shitbags. They're, as far as I know, quite Islamisty, fundamentalisty. They're not very good in the old pro-gay rights stuff and all that. But it does get used as a smokescreen. So you say, so here's your argument, right? Someone says you don't condemn Hamas, and you say, well, I condemn Israel, and Hamas are defending their people. And in this instance, they did. It was Israel that fired first. So, well, you're not an ally for LGBTQ people. So, well, what's that got to do with it? Well, Hamas are anti-gay rights. So, well, Israel are killing people. Some of those are gay. Israel are bombing hospitals. Israel are killing children in their beds. Some of those might be gay. Some of them are gay. Without a doubt. We know, with the numbers of us, of our LGBTQ brothers and sisters that live among us, we know that some of them are bound to be gay. So, let's worry about their gay rights first after we give them life rights and rights to vote and access to water and electricity and Gaza is the biggest open air prison on the planet. You can't go in, you can't go. They can't go in, they can't go out, they can't vote, they can't get a job. They've got no hopes, no prospects. So then Hamas fucker cut some rockets over, and sadly, some of them landed and they killed. I'm not sure. I think it's 6 people, and that's shit. But people, Palestinians, some Palestinians cheer that. If I was living down there, I think I might be a bit cheery about it. I certainly wouldn't worry me. I wouldn't be beating myself up too much about it. Do you get me? So, cabinet meeting. A cabinet meeting was held on Tuesday and agreed to back the Sinn Féin proposal if the party included reference to violence on all sides on the conflict, following intense violence in the Gaza region over the past 2 weeks before ceasefire was called. So, yeah. Fair enough. More than 240 Palestinians have been killed in the outbreak of the violence. Oh, there you go. There's the number. Since the outbreak of the violence, including 66 children, with 10 Israeli deaths, including 2 children. All terrible. But you can see that there's, that's... And by the way, although Hamas, but Islamist fundamentalisty, there's a Jewish version of those guys as well. Those settlers are fucking psychos. A lot of those Hasidic guys are hardcore. They're not pro gay rights. They're not pro equality for women. Certainly not equality for Palestinians. So there's 2 sides to that coin, and they do violence as well. Now they're not going in there and dropping bombs, but they did. The Zionists back in the day, back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, went in and massacred villages to clear those, many accounts of that. So, right, onward. Just saying, there's 2 sides to that coin. Just don't forget that. Mr. Coveney said he found it deeply troubling that Sinn Féin could not also bring itself to condemn the actions of Hamas for also killing children and innocent civilians. However, when the minister insisted in Tuesday's debate on the condemnation of the killing of civilians by both sides in this conflict, Sinn Féin accepted this amendment without a vote. People Before Profit TD Richard Boyd Barrett, speaking before the vote on his party's amendment, described it as historic and said it was the first time the Irish Parliament would vote on the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador. Most likely the first time any parliament in the EU has held such a vote. So the rejected amendment stated that the Israeli apartheid system, through its ongoing ethnic cleansing, brutal state repression and murderous military violence, including 4 savage military assaults on Gaza in recent years, has no place among the international community of nations. It called for the expulsion of the sounds awful. Expulsion of the Israeli ambassador and all Israeli diplomatic staff, as well for the application of a comprehensive package of economic, political and cultural sanctions against the State of Israel, similar to that applied to apartheid South Africa. Now, one of the things you may not know, Ireland was one of the first countries, if not the first, to apply sanctions against South Africa and the apartheid regime. And it was the strike and done stores workers. They refused to handle South African goods, and they went on strike for 2 years. And that became a big thing. Some of them lost their houses. They were very brave and very good. And that was right. So let's go. Where are we? All right, here we go. So the amendment also called for the maintenance of such sanctions and right. That's the end of it. So they didn't get the ambassador expelled. That didn't happen. I don't know about the sanctions thing yet. It may happen, but that's good. Isn't that great? I think it's fantastic. Here, Chris Hazard from Sinn Féin, he put on who retweeted, a spokesperson for settler colonial apartheid state is angry that Ireland stands with Palestine. Predictable Israeli propaganda doesn't work in Ireland. We know what a coloniser looks like, and we know how important international solidarity is. Ireland supports Palestine, and the person he was referring to is Lior Hiat. I probably pronounced that wrong. Israel outright rejects Ireland, and he says, Israel outright rejects Ireland's outrageous and baseless position regarding Israeli communities in Judea and Samaria. You won't even call it Palestine, the prick. This position reflects a blatantly one-sided and simplistic policy and follows the unacceptable anti-Israel statements that were heard in Ireland at a time when citizens of Israel were being subjected to terror attacks by more than 4,000 rockets that were launched from Gaza Strip by the Hamas terrorist organisation. The motion that was adopted today in the Irish Parliament continues a victory for extremist Palestinian factions. The motion distances Ireland from its ambition to contribute and play a constructive role in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Yeah, they can fuck off. Bullshit. You can't pull that anymore. People don't believe you. We don't believe you. We know what a coloniser looks like. That's what Chris Hazard was saying. This is why Ireland has a sympathy with the Palestinians, because there's a direct parallel, and a very easily identifiable one. You know, so that dude can go fuck off. Okay, next thing is the protocol. Nearly done. Not going to go long with this one. The protocol is the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is brought to us by your friends and mine in the DUP and the British Tory party. Did you know, I mean, I'll tell you this probably often, but did you know the word Tory, where it comes from? The Tory party comes from the Tory Island off the coast of Ireland. Tory Island is the Irish word for rubber. T-O-R-A-D-A-I-G-H, I think. Something like that. Probably fuck that up. So, why the British Tory party took it as a moniker, I have no idea. So here's a quick one. Edwin Poots warns that the current arrangements of the protocol intolerable during a meeting with Lord Frost. Now, the Loyalists are threatening a summer of discontent, a summer of disruption. Bonfires, marches, all this sort of shit. Many would argue, including me, that they do that anyway. They're not. Most of them are nothing but a bunch of fucking drunken rabble-rousers, and they don't have anything to offer. The protocol, as it stands, is a great opportunity for the North of Ireland or Northern Ireland, and they should, if they had a fucking brain between them, they would be selling the benefits of it, but they haven't, and this is one of the reasons why they're hemorrhaging support, the DUP. The Northern Ireland Protocol, as I keep putting it, for the first time in history, Northern Ireland could be on the pig's back, but these fundamentalist Christian psychopaths haven't got the brains of brains to see that they can give their people the bit. It would mean having closer ties to the south, you see, and that's what they don't want. And they would rather, there's an old saying from Sun Tzu, the art of war, the evil enemy will burn his own country to the ground to rule over the ashes. And that's what this is. You know, and it's that attitude. If we can't have everything we want, no one's getting anything. And that's why Northern Ireland is a failed experiment. It's 100 years old and it's never worked. It's always been a fucking basket case. Because it doesn't work. It can't work. It's unnatural. So, bail through this right and quick. Edwin Poots warns current arrangements of protocol intolerable during meeting with Lord Frost. Lord Frost is the Brexit minister who only the other day admitted that he didn't realise that individual European EU countries cannot do independent trade deals with the UK. Just the other day. He's been negotiating for the government for years This is the fucking idiot. Lord, this man is a lord. Lord of what? Only the other day said that he didn't realise that. I saw it on a live stream that he was doing. He was in a parliamentary session, committee meeting, and he says we'll go and do a trade deal with I think what did he say? Was it the Netherlands or something, or Germany? I said, no, you can't. That's not the way it works. This is what you're dealing with. So, the new DUP leader and agricultural minister, Edwin Poots, has called the current Northern Ireland Protocol arrangements intolerable during a meeting with the UK's Brexit minister, Lord Frost. I had wee graphics and everything, and I forgot to put them up. Fuck's sake. Here we go. Mr. Poots met the negotiator alongside the Secretary of State, Brant Lewis, on Wednesday. He's a dick. The Agriculture Minister warned that the amount of checks required to be carried out in goods coming from Great Britain to Northern Ireland would be unsustainable after the agreed grace period ends in October. Grace periods for implementing post-Brexit checks on goods coming from GB were increased unilaterally by the UK back in March, with the European Commission accusing the government of violating the agreed treaty in the wake of Brexit. Meant to stop goods crossing the EU's border into the Republic of Ireland, the Northern Ireland Protocol has been the cause of significant unionist tension with the UK. And with the UK and the EU at loggerheads on efforts to reduce some of the bureaucracy the arrangements have created on the movement of goods. So, today I met with Lord Frost and Brant Lewis to impress upon them the need to remove, the burdens faced are unfair and will increase the cost of food. No, it won't. To date, the cost of checks arriving from GB is 24. The imports from the south have gone up massively, and the exports to the south, to the EU, have gone up massively. So these markets are being replaced. The UK is a smaller market than the EU. That's the way it works. There was a way for unionism to win this. There really was. There was a way for them to come out of this. And this is the whole point. So we're now moving into a phase of where we're talking about a united Ireland. And people like me have to convince other people that being in a united Ireland, maybe you, that being in the united Ireland is better than being in the UK. And that's fair enough. We have that choice. We're very lucky. Well, you could argue. I wouldn't, but you could. So I'm going to take time to do that. I'm going to go out of my way to try and explain why it's going to be better to be in the United Ireland than it is in the United Kingdom. Unionism's had that opportunity for 100 years and hasn't done it. In fact, just the opposite. It's been very cruel when it wasn't getting what it wanted. Sometimes what it wanted was very unreasonable, and it only increased its cruelty. Never, very rarely bothered to consider, or certainly not negotiate, but since the Good Friday Agreement, things changed. They have to negotiate now. And now we're in that position. So, unionism had this opportunity at the start of this whole Brexit process. They should have been leading the way with the Northern Ireland. They should have owned this. Said, we're going to make Northern Ireland better. We're going to increase the quality of life. We're going to increase the job opportunities. We're going to increase the educational opportunities. Increase, improve. But they won't. They will burn their own country to the ground to rule over the ashes. Sun Tzu said that. And this is what unionism is offering. And so that's what it's offering now. Even still, it's still at this late stage, it's possible for them to own this. And they will not do it. They will not do it. They're incapable of leadership. leadership within the fact that people like Jamie Bryson can rise up out of the bins of East Belfast, or wherever the fuck it is he's from, that idiot can rise up and be a leader of unionism, loyalism, is staggering. And I even see them talking with Doug Beattie. Doug Beattie is the new leader of... Actually, just tonight, but both the UUP and the DUP, Edwin Poots and Doug Beattie are the two new leaders of the official unionist parties. And that's all being confirmed tonight, both of them tonight, separately. But the fact, I mean, they talk to these people like they know them. And how characters like Jamie Bryson have the platform that they have is beyond me. I don't understand. If they brought any insights or anything helpful to the table, I would get it. If they were genuine intellects, if they were genuinely able to express, offer, assist, guide, I would get it. They do nothing. But there they are, the leaders of unionism. So then they're left to try and defend the union and tell me why I shouldn't want a united Ireland, why I should want to stay in the union. Them idiots. They can't. And this is the weird thing. Even your liberal unionist, of which there are many, people like Doug Beattie, who I know, well, I don't know, he's an MLA for this area, for Upper Bann, one of them. And I happen to like him. When we were out on a campaign to save them cutting down the trees at Craigavon Lakes, he was there. He was the only politician that turned up. And I got a lot of respect for the man. But he's talking about the benefits of the union. But what is the union? What is the United Kingdom? That shameful empire, colonial past, the likes of which the poor Palestinians are having to suffer today. That we suffered for hundreds and hundreds of years. Our country has been decimated because of it and never recovered yet. It's only our membership of the European Union that let us rise up from second world status to first world status. And we did. Well, the South did. We were part of the UK, so I suppose technically it was different, but that doesn't tell the whole story either, because our numbers here are different. Our birth rates, our infant mortality rates, our mortality rates, all these things were always lowest. And now Northern Ireland has the longest waiting lists in the UK, so now the NHS isn't even working. I read today, a lady said, a doctor, she says, the Northern Ireland healthcare system now doesn't even qualify as healthcare free at the point of need, because the waiting list is so long. The waiting list in Wales is something like 1,000 people. In England, it's something like 4,000. In England, in Northern Ireland, it's 100,000. So if you're going to sell the benefits of the union, the NHS is the crown jewel. It has to be in the top. And now, I know the southern healthcare system is shit too. But that's what we can make a good one. We can start one. We could that would be my thing. I personally have a big boner for that. An all Ireland NHS style healthcare system free at the point of need for anybody that needs it, anybody that wants it. Because the one in the north isn't working. And it's getting worse. The Tories are selling it off piecemeal. Sure, we know this. So you need to sell the benefits of my point. I've straight off my point, as is my want. You need to sell the benefits of the union. And they still could. And the Northern Ireland Protocol, members of the Scottish Parliament have said they would bite their arm off to have the Northern Ireland Protocol applied to Scotland. And here's our mob crying their fucking eyes out, because it doesn't make us the same as the rest of the UK. But we're not the same as the rest of the UK. NHS waiting list. You think they would go and manage that? That's something they should try and get the same as the rest of the UK. But no, it's sandwiches and muck in plants. By the way, muck in plants. There was this whole thing that the British Army had to wash the wheels off their trucks when they come over to Northern Ireland for deployment. They have always had to do that. That's called biosecurity. It's two separate islands. That's normal. But what these fucking dickheads hear about it for the first time, they think it uniquely applies to just now because of the Northern Ireland Protocol and because of Brexit and the Pan-Nationalist Front, whatever the fuck that is. It's always been there. Biosecurity is a thing. That's why during the whole mad cow disease thing, Ian Paisley said that Northern Ireland, Ulster is British, but the cows are Irish. Because Ireland didn't have mad cow disease. So the Ulster farmers were able to trade. Can you dig it? But anyway. So, the volume of checks, Edwin Poots again. The volume of checks is unsustainable due to the resourcing requirements necessary to control this movement of goods for domestic supply chains. Despite the efforts of my staff to streamline the process, the current arrangement places an intolerable burden on stakeholders and is unnecessary and not appropriate or proportionate to the risk inherent in the goods. Now, that's okay for him to say, not inherent in the goods. We're talking about the European Union protecting its market, and the European Union would be foolish to trust the British, would they not? So, here's the final word to Ursula von der Leyen, who is what is her official title? She's the head of the European Commission. So, Ursula von der Leyen has blamed Brexit for the disruption to trade from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, but has reiterated her offer to find practical solutions to issues destabilising politics in the region. Now, this is destabilising the politics. The market the market itself is stabilising. Northern Irish traders are finding a bigger market within the European Union, which was always there, but Northern Ireland did trade more with mainland UK traditionally. But now we're hearing about English farmers and Scottish farmers and Welsh farmers are now starting to find out that the Tory government have got plans for them to compete with Australian beef, which can be produced much cheaper. And apparently the standards are far lower. So the Ulster farmers, we don't want fucking anything to do with that. So we can now find new markets in the UK, in the EU, right? So this is trade disruption, and it is a disruption. They make no bones about it. But it was caused by Brexit. It's not caused by the European Union, and it's not caused by the Northern Ireland Protocol. The Northern Ireland Protocol is the solution to Brexit for Northern Ireland, for Ulster farmers and Ulster manufacturing. And another thing I read the other day, the head of Northern Ireland Manufacturing Association, whatever they're called, have said that the interest in Northern Ireland, she's never seen it in her entire life. It's through the roof. So, hopefully they will all come to fruition. So, after a summit of the 27 heads of state, I'm done. So, after the summit with 27 heads of state and government in Brussels, the European Commission President defended the arrangements in the withdrawal agreement designed to avoid a border on the island of Ireland. I think it is important to reiterate that the protocol is the only possible solution to ensure peace and stability in Northern Ireland while protecting the integrity of the European Union's single market, she said. If we see problems today, we should not forget that they do not come from the protocol, but they result from Brexit. And that is the reason why the problems are here. End of story. And that's it. And the threats to peace is coming from the loyalists and it's coming from unionism. Not all of unionism, but unionism. Because that's what they do. when they don't get everything that they want, the way they want it and how they want it, they disrupt. And they won't engage on. They will not engage with this process, despite the fact that this process is better for them. The protocol is better for us. And they can't see that within their own intransigence, they're sowing the seeds of their own demise, the thing that they want the least, which is a united Ireland. Because if the Northern Ireland Protocol can be seen to work, that's closer connections to the EU and to the Republic. And that's naturally going to lead to, and I mean, the demographics are headed towards a united Ireland anyway. You know, it's very close with regard, and then with a border poll. But you have 10 years of the Northern Ireland Protocol working, Northern Ireland doing well for itself, more connections to the south. Young people we know through Poland are moving away from looking to the UK anyway. But they won't do this. The unionists and the loyalists won't do it. They won't do it. They can't. They don't want to, but they can't do it because they don't want it to work. And the evil enemy will burn his own country to the ground to rule over the ashes. I think that's a good way to end.